Welcome to Unity Talks, where the hiring experts of Dallas-based recruiting firm Unity Search engage in lively discussion with successful business leaders to dissect their careers and how they got to where they are today, the obstacles overcome to reach their success, and steps they've taken to stay at the top of their respective fields. So listen in as we provide you with the thought-provoking conversation and ideas that keep industries moving forward.
Welcome back to another edition of the Unity Talks podcast. I'm your host, and I'm super excited about today's guest. I've known her forever, I feel like, and I've never placed her.
Oh my God.
I've never had someone go to work for her. I'm putting her on the spot right now.
Wow.
Yeah, but I still stay in contact with her all the time, and I feel like I've placed her, and I feel like I've had a ton of people go to work for her. That's not the case. That's part of creating a relationship with people so that you can help them out. And a relationship is a partnership. It's a two-way street. So her and I get to talk about things, not only personal life, but work life. How's work going? What are you doing? And that creates a long-term relationship. And some of what we're going to be talking today about is long-term relationships and how it helps you develop your career and other things, such as these 5 things. I actually had her make a list. And it's great because sometimes I start going off on a tangent, and this allows me to stay accountable. And a lot of times I don't like to bring a list here, but this is fantastic. Here's what we're talking about today, and then I'm going to get to our guest. We are talking about 5 things that helped me grow my career. Strive to always learn something new. Let negative experiences shape you, but not jade you. Help grow the people around you. Your network is invaluable, so feed it. And always understand that you are replaceable. She's going to dive into helping us understand what all of this means, and her name is Andrea White. Andrea.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I can't believe you've never placed me. I feel like we talk all the time.
I know. I was looking through my notes, and I'm like, it's crazy because I talk to her all the time, but I haven't placed her. I don't think I've placed anybody for her, but yet I have tracked your career from so many years. Matter of fact, I went back to look when you and I first chatted. I'm thinking it's probably around 2007, 2008.
That feels right.
Do you remember where you were?
Oh, it was McAfee.
McAfee. Okay, yeah. Trend Micro, McAfee, kind of that grouping. Yes.
Yep.
I think that was it. Revenue recognition, I think, was your specialty.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I know her whole career. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, you did great there. Just a little bit about me.
Yes.
David kind of hit on it. Kind of been around DFW for about 25 years now in the accounting audit space, mostly technology the last 20-ish years. But proud mom of 2. I think that's probably more important than my professional career. I just had 2 recent graduates, so it's very fresh on the mind. May was a crazy month, so that's why you're getting me in June.
Yes, this is true. It was also a crazy month for other reasons for you work-wise. Maybe we get into that. Maybe we don't get into that.
Yeah.
That's totally kind of your call.
My marketing department told me I had to play the company line.
Cool. Good. I figured that may be the case. What is also, before we jump in here, I was just teasing her because she is a tech grad. And right now, depends on when you're listening to this, but right now, the girls softball team is in the College World Series. She was really bumming because last night Texas beat them.
Yep.
You have 2 more chances.
We do. I'm sure we'll lose.
Oh, come on.
I'm a pessimist when it comes to tech. Always. Like, anytime we do well in sports, I'm like, no. Until we win it, I don't believe it's going to happen.
Well, it's going to be a pretty tight series. Yeah. I have a prediction. It was last year.
I hope they come back tonight.
Yeah. They have a good shot. Y'all have a really good team. Your pitching staff is fantastic.
Well, we paid for it.
Well, this is true. I wasn't going to say that, okay?
Yes,
You're the one that said it.
But we paid for it.
Have the record show that she said that.
Yep.
All right, so let's jump in. This is great. So usually I have a pre-show prep call, and we talk about ideas. And you sent me the greatest little email today because you're like, man, I was mulling around idea over after over. And then you're like, I woke up in the morning and obviously my subconscious mind was nailing it. And you have this list. So we're going to go one by one and I'm going to let you riff on it. I'll ask some questions just to dive a little bit deeper when I think it might be appropriate. Maybe you don't think it's appropriate, but I definitely think it will be. Okay. So you'll have to tell me. Okay. Number one, top 5 things. Remember, top 5 things that help me, this is Andrea talking, that help me grow my career. So tell us, number 1 is strive to always learn something new.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people get comfortable. They like what they're doing, or they're just scared of maybe looking foolish because they don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. People who are working for FASB don't know everything. So it's just that willingness or curiosity to want to learn something new. I used to say learn something new every day, but that got exhausting. So like, I think you hit on it. I was in RevRec. Like that was my bread and butter for a long time because I was in the software space, and not to date myself, but like I've seen every evolution that the FASB has come out with. And, you know, at one point after they codified everything, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to be a specialist anymore. I was like, so what do I do? Thankfully, I had a really good former boss who had gotten her first CFO gig. And she said, hey, would you like to come be my controller? And I went, you know that I don't know the rest of the P&L. I was like, but the fact that I was like, as long as you're okay with me, you know, having to research stuff and not knowing it instantly, let's do this. Yeah. And so it was just that willingness to admit that you don't know everything that just kind of helped you take that jump.
That's so good. This morning I was walking into work and you just you reminded me of this. I read this little post from someone who said, you know, have a willingness to push yourself into the deep end. And sometimes that creates imposter syndrome. You know, like, what am I doing? Are you sure you really want me as your controller? Like, I don't know the other side. And then you learn it. And you have to look back on yourself and you say, I've overcome all these challenges in the past and been successful. Why wouldn't I be able to do that again? Because maybe sometimes you have a crisis of confidence. But curiosity, I think, can lead you to a little bit of a crisis of confidence. But then you learn how to overcome that because you've reproduced that moment over and over in your lifetime.
Absolutely. It's that first moment you're sitting around a conference room table and you're waiting for the adult in the room to make a decision. You're like, oh, I'm the adult.
That's me.
Oh, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then you just learn from it. And if you don't learn from it, that's when you have those faltering moments. But never be afraid to make, you know, a choice. I think paralysis of having too many options in front of you sometimes prevents you from doing that. But go with it. And if it's the wrong one, know to course correct and try to fix it.
Yeah. I think the best word out of all of that is, you know, you said always strive to learn something new, and you have to have that innate curiosity. Well, I'm going to back off of that. I guess it doesn't have to be innate. You can learn to have the curiosity. It doesn't have to be within you, but once you start learning it and you see the world unfold in front of you, then you want to become more curious. It's like, it's to me, it's almost like momentum. You can build momentum.
Small things add up, and you realize, you know, you take that retrospective look back and you're like, look where we've gotten. I tell like my team as I go into any new team, I'm like, tell me why you do what you do. And they'll be like, well, I've always done it this way. That's almost like a swear jar for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need you to know the why, not just because you've always done it, but why do you do it this way? And it's helping them develop those critical thinking skills that maybe previous bosses or team members didn't want them to do. They just wanted them to get it done and get it done as quick as possible. And just pushing them just a little bit to think through it. Like, why do you do this? And sometimes, especially with like rapidly growing companies or companies that have done acquisitions, you have to ask these questions because there could be processes that could be re-engineered that nobody had thought to look at it that way. And so I just always be curious, always try to look at something from a different approach. Even if you come to the same answer, at least you took that 2 minutes to look at it from a different way.
Totally agree. I just had a conversation. It's actually, it's embarrassing, maybe, I don't know. I call it an old man's book club.
Okay.
So guys do book clubs,
I
right?
love it.
That's okay. One of the guys in the book club, I invited him in the book club. He's also a chief accounting officer, and so I would invite you, but it's guys only.
Oh.
And he said, so when we were talking about the book, he said, you know, I get asked that question all the time about AI replacing jobs. And he said, I don't think I'll have someone on my team that I'm worried about AI replacing their job, because I have trained them to be curious and ask the next question. It's the people that aren't curious as much, and they're not willing to understand the why behind the what they're doing. Those are the people I'm worried about, but I'm not worried about my team. And I thought that was really good that he has pushed them to do that, to where they have more of a safety factor.
We actually had a whole almost company-wide discussion about AI and how we can and can't use it because there's security risks, and it's a conversation that people are having. And my team was like, I'm just using it to write my technical accounting memos. Is that okay? Absolutely okay. I'm fine with that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, on to number 2. Let negative experiences shape you, but not jade you.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking when I wrote that one was I've had odd things that don't happen to every accountant or finance person. Way back, one of my biggest clients when I was still in public accounting got deposed by the SEC. They Medicare fraud, and I was just I was 24 and going, what is going on? And I was like, you could have gotten jaded by the fact that your clients can be dishonest with you, that they're hiding things, that they're actually trying to deceive public opinion. But instead, I went through the whole process, watched people come into my office at the client site and take all of our paperwork, all of our computers, make ghost copies of it so that they could filter through all of it to see if we had done our job. And taking what I took away from that was, all right, documentation matters. So it's really funny, people who don't know me will get an email from me, and it's very to the point, bullets, short, sweet, and usually no frills. And then they meet me in person, and I talk, and they're like, I didn't know you'd be so personable. I was like, there's a story to that. But there always is, right? You let it shape you, but don't let it jade you. Don't think all the rest of your clients are going to have something horrible going on that you're there to try to find. Because most of the time, they don't. But you could. And then the other one, a couple of other ones that I thought of was I was at McAfee when they got delisted and we had to do a restatement. That's a big undertaking. And especially when you're maybe newer in your career, you're like, what does it involve? What are the hours that it's going to entail? Does it look badly on me? Or, a gamut of emotions happen when you go through a restatement. And, I think our team was fantastic. I call it the 6 degrees of McAfee. You'll call me and you'll be like, do you know this person, this person, this person? And we all trails lead back to McAfee.
Yes.
And we locked arms, and we would have run into a brick wall together because we were going to get through that restatement. And we were in that lovely hybrid time of some of our stuff, our SOX controls were operated electronically, and then some were still old school paper where we were printing stuff out and signing it. So it was a neat time period of boxes moving into conference rooms to do this special project. And, I think back on it now and I'm like, yeah, it's just all digital files now. So it's not as much gratifying to find, oh, I found that journal entry.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's fun how you think through it, and you're like, I picked up some valuable skills on how maybe not to do something.
Exactly.
But other skills on how do I future-proof it? If I were to pick this up 3 years from now, would I understand why I did something? And I think that was a really good takeaway from that exercise, because even journal entries I had done myself a year or two before, I'd pick it up and I'd look at it and I'm like, why did I book this journal entry? Because everybody's always in a rush. And so I created templates that would have the journal entry reason already on it, so I never had to refill that out. It's just simple things like that it shaped how I approached problems, so that it future-proofed me. Future me would thank me.
Yes, yeah, I think that's excellent. The one I thought of was Enron.
Yes.
Because it happens in Houston,
Yep.
and one of my business partners, he would hate me if I said this. He started out Anderson, but every time he says it, he's like, "But I was not part of that." I mean, that's the caveat, right? All of them, they're like, "But I was not part of the whole Enron. I was in the Dallas office.
Yep.
I moved over." The thing that I think of a couple of other things on this specifically. I often say is the sting of disappointment is a great teacher in life. Because you'll learn what not to do or what to do in the future. The other thing I think about let negative experiences shape you but not jade you is we all know in our professional life when something negative may be happening to someone else and not us. And if that person's looked upon as a leader, you're watching how that negative experience impacts them.
Yeah.
And, some of the best leaders, they'll take it on the chin, they'll fall on the sword, whatever the case may be, and they move on. They course correct and they move on. They don't make too big of a deal of it. They don't make too little of a deal of it. And you, by observation, can learn so well from people like that, because the opposite could happen to someone else, right? A negative experience impacts that person and they're in a leadership role and they fly off the handle. And that has a significant impact on you. And you learn, when I'm in that position, I'm going to do this. I'm not doing that.
Absolutely. Stress is an interesting agent on some people and how they handle it and how they react to the situations. I think I had a really good mentor. It's just like everything rolled off his back. He's like, okay, we'll take it. And he would take it in stride and we would go to the next meeting and it would be like, okay. And then I've had ones that I felt like they were bipolar. You didn't know who you were going to get in the meeting. You didn't know if you were going to get calm, cool, and collected or if you were going to get hot and yelling at everyone.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like you would wait until they reacted to something before you knew how you needed to play with that. And or what role you were going to have to play that day. And I think I took that in stride and said, all right, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And so it's the duck, the
Yes.
water may be here, but I am paddling underneath,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. That's great imagery. Yeah, you more is caught than taught, so people are going to catch how you are responding or reacting to a situation. And so choose wisely, right?
I think everybody in the DFW area probably knows how I respond when anybody asks me, how are you doing? And I'm like, peachy.
Yes, this is true.
Everybody knows I answer a question that way. And I think it's because I know that it answers the question the exact way it needs to. It can be taken positively, snarky, it can be sarcastic, it can be sincere.
Yeah.
So it's a good default answer to anything because I know how I'm really answering it.
Yeah. That's actually good. I've never thought of it that way. Okay, number 3, moving on. Number 3, help grow the people around you. What does that mean to you?
Oh, man. I think if you are not actively looking for who could replace you, who around you can develop skills that they may not have, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're going to keep having to do maybe the tasks that somebody else on the team could be doing. I've had lots of opportunities when I've left. I let my boss know this is who should replace me. I always try to find my replacement for them because I want to leave them in a position where they've grown into the role, or it may be still a little bit of a stretch, but I know they can get there. One of my last companies, it was my 3rd time to work with a gentleman, and I had taken him every time with me to my next role. And when I left that one, I was like, "You're ready." And he stayed and he filled in my old role, and he's still there. And I just saw him a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Why did you leave?" And I was like, "Because you were ready, and I still needed to grow."
Oh, wow.
So
That's really good.
I called him my work husband for 7 years. So we still keep in touch, and he loves the role. So I think it helps other people be successful. It's not all about you.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so let me ask you about this situation then, because I can see this. I've seen it happen, and I can see it happening in our organization. I think every organization, which is someone is growing in that organization that you cherish them, much like this guy that you were referencing. They're fantastic, but then you don't have that next role for them, and they want it and they're ready. And sometimes you have to let them fly the coop, right? Move them on. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I tell everybody, I'm like, the greatest compliment is for you to go to your next role and go, oh, well, I learned this when I worked at blah, 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 because you taught them how to do some things that just they took and they used to create another organization. Hopefully they always take the good things and they're not sitting here years later going, well, I learned what not to do.
Yes, yes, yeah.
But yeah, I always tell them, I'm like, never be afraid to tell me that you're leaving for another opportunity. I always want you to have the career that you want. It's just the culture I want all of my employees to adhere to, is be the best version of you can be. So I have a guy on my team. When I did his performance review this year, I said, what do you want to do this next year? And he goes, honestly, I looked and I'm only 6 hours shy of sitting for the CPA exam. I'm like, do it. And he's like, I don't need it where he is in his career, but it's that FOMO that he doesn't have those 3 initials after his name. And I'm like, do it. Yeah. So he's gonna take a couple of classes this summer, just get it, check the box and get it done. And I'm like, wow. And does that mean he'll be more marketable? Absolutely. Yeah. Will he probably leave me? Probably. But I'm not going to prevent him out of a fear that he's going to leave me.
Yeah, that's really good. I think sometimes we get short-sighted. You know, leaders can get short-sighted where they're just like, well, I got to try to figure out how to keep that person down so I keep that the knowledge within my organization. So I like what you said there. I also think that, and this is kind of self-explanatory, but if you want to continue to grow your career, you know, the older you get and the more seasoned you get in your career, the less technical it becomes, and it's more about people and leading and putting people in the right position. And so if you want to continue to grow, you got to develop them not just from a technical standpoint and the way they think, curiosity, to go back to number one.
Yep.
But also giving them that opportunity to grow all those other skill sets. And when people see that, they push you up, right? Because an organization sees that and they want to develop and promote those people. That means you have to get pushed up in your career.
We had to look at all of our employees this year because the current company I'm at was the result of a merger between 2 companies. So this was our first full year where we were all in the same HR system. And so it was our first performance cycle where we were all being evaluated the same. And we kind of took the time to actually, ask what they wanted to do and maybe where they thought they needed development work. And I talked to one of them and I was like, listen, technically you are solid. There's no notes, A+. And I was like, however, and he goes, uh-oh. It's like, your soft skills, because you are so good at doing everything, you don't let your team help you. And he was like, yeah, I can feel myself doing that. It's just so much easier to just get it done when you know you can do it and you know you're going to do it right, to not train the next people under you to do it as well. And then all of a sudden you get another special project or you get something else that comes in, gets added on your plate, and you don't have anything you can offload. So I was like, do yourself a favor, and here's what here's where I can see you can offload some things. And he took that incredibly well because he could feel it. He's like, I have people under me that should be able to do this. It's just he didn't want to let it go.
Yeah, that's good. A general rule of thumb for people who are listening is if someone can do it 80% as good as you could do it, give it to that person.
That's a great rule.
And then help them move up the other 20%. But if it's 80% as good, let them run with it and move on to elevate and delegate, or delegate it and then elevate yourself to more challenging things.
Yep.
Okay, number 4, moving on here. Your network is invaluable. This will be good. Feed it. Your network is invaluable, so feed it.
Yes. We hit on it at the beginning. We've known each other forever. I was trying to remember when we connected. And then Mike Blurton at Unity, he and I were in the same start class at KPMG, so I know exactly how long I've known him. It's amazing. Your network, you don't even realize it when you're young in your career how many people you will run into, you will connect with. Go to the alumni CPE events, go to the happy hours with former colleagues or whatever, because you just never know. Like I said, my first controllership role, A recruiter didn't find that for me because that wasn't in my resume. It would never have hit anybody's radar that, oh, you might be a fit for this. It was a former employee or employer that she came back to me and she's like, hey, I think you'd be a great fit for this. So definitely keep up with those relationships. It'll feel taxing at times because you would rather go home, you know, especially as hard as all of us tend to work. You do have to make time for it. And I think the last 6 years have just been strange. Since COVID, there's a whole generation of workers that have not had in-office experiences. So when you leave those companies, I've seen it even, employees that I've only known in a virtual context, when they quit, there's no that guilt that you're leaving a team in a lurch. There's no worry that they're not going to be able to fill it because everybody wants the remote jobs. So it's just weird. You don't have the strong connection or bond. So I'm not dismissing that virtual environments and remote work is a great option, but I do think that the connections are weaker in that environment.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, my comments on this, I thought it was great, you putting that in there, because the last 6 years we've seen it accelerate where, you know, in the workforce, we're moving this generation into the workforce that's becoming the largest population in the workforce as Gen X kind of moves to the end of our career, and everything is through a device or a screen.
Yeah.
And so, and one of the things I talk about with my team all the time is communication. It's a skill, it's a muscle.
It is.
And it will atrophy when you can't have a communication with someone and look them in the eye, or, you know, even stand at an elevator and smile and talk to them or something like that. Like, those are little tiny skills that if that muscle is not exercised, it atrophies and it goes away. And whether you're an accountant or a recruiter, communication is invaluable. Or to go back to what I said, the guy was saying in our book club is, if you're not communicating and building relationships with people and you lose that, then you have to look at yourself and go, am I replaceable in what I'm doing if I'm not able to communicate the findings of the why behind the what?
And I believe, I know this is a tangent, but communicating with people how they want to receive it is a whole new skill set that we're having to develop.
Yes.
Do they respond better to an IM, whether it's Teams, Slack, whatever, or is it an email? And then there's those rare ones that they'll ignore those. They've learned how to tune out that ping or that ding or whatever, but they'll answer a phone call. And it's weird. It's not generational. Everybody's a little different.
I would agree with that. And so, like, yeah, getting off of the device, going to an event, we all feel awkward.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, even myself, I've been to tons of them, and I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, all right, put your big boy pants on.
Let's do this.
Deep swallow, let's go, you know, and then you just head in there, because these people can create, your network can create doors that would have never otherwise opened, as you've seen directly in your career, that open for you. And it's not because you go to work for that person. It's that person knows that person knows that person, and there's a connector that says y'all need to meet.
Yep.
And you're not having that when you're not able to interface with people.
Or when you're hiring, even if you're not looking for a job, but you're hiring, look at a resume and look at it and go, oh, well, I know somebody who worked there, and you can almost back channel every candidate if you feed that network and you know people.
Yeah. That's so what would be, we're still going to go to 5, but on number 4, your network is invaluable, feed it. What would you recommend someone do? Like, what's a step for someone who's listening to this and they're like, okay, but what do I do?
Yeah. The easiest ones for accountants are go to the live CPE events as opposed to just doing everything online.
Okay.
I've dialed into the alumni networks for Big 4 firms. I've done ones, recruiters will often, like, not to throw competitors out there, but they'll have like their ethics CPE every year. I'm like, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
Like, you see people that you probably wouldn't see, but we're all in the same boat. We all have to get that. So that's an easy one.
Yeah.
And it's not as awkward.
Yeah.
Because we're roughly all the same population, we all need to get CPE, so it's not quite as awkward. Going to those alumni events of like former companies where it's mixed bag, it might be finance, it might be accounting, might be people, you know, in engineering or whatever, those can be the more awkward ones. But you just never know who you'll run into, and you know, those can be some lasting connections as well.
Yeah, that one, I love it. Yeah, thanks for putting that in here.
Yeah.
Last one, number 5, always understand you are replaceable. So I was scratching my head a little bit on this one.
We work really hard. We're conditioned very early, especially if you start in Big Four. Like busy season is a whole thing. We're conditioned to work these horrible hours because it'll be worth it. And it is. I will still attest to that, to every college senior that I talk to, and they'll be like, should I go to Big Four? I'm like, absolutely. The base learnings and connections that you will get are worth it. It is paying your dues, but it is so worth it. That's the first time I realized I was replaceable, actually. I was working right after busy season at KPMG. I was running like 3 jobs. I thought I was indispensable. Everybody loved me. My client loved me. My managers, my senior managers all loved me. But it was time for me to leave. And I remember I went to my performance manager and I was like, I need to turn in my notice. And this was like at 9:30 in the morning. By noon, all my jobs were reassigned. I was completely replaceable. And it was just, I don't know if it was a blow to the ego more than anything, but I was like, oh, okay, I don't matter. Cool. That was my first taste of it, right? Like, oh, they are just going to replace me. Mm-hmm. And I think that made me have a better attitude of, maybe not better work-life balance, but when I had to make decisions, like really difficult decisions, I knew that what happens for me is more important than the company, usually, because I will be replaced.
Yeah,
And so it just, throughout my various stops in my career, I had lots of challenges with whether it was the company wasn't doing so well, or we were doing lots of acquisitions, or just whatever challenges came up. If I had to make that decision, if it's me or the company, unless it was short-term pain, like, oh, well, the project will be over in 2 weeks, oftentimes I'd be like, really? They can find somebody else. And I think just giving myself that grace and that attitude of, I'm going to do the best job I can, but knowing that I'm only human and I'm not this superhuman and I am replaceable, it's freeing.
Yeah.
And I think younger me didn't think that.
Yeah.
I thought that I had to work the 100-hour weeks all the time. I'm not saying they don't still exist.
Yeah.
But it was definitely more, I felt like I was more in control of my destiny. As opposed to something happening to me, I felt like I could control it more.
That's so good. I didn't know what you meant.
Where I was going?
I didn't know you were going to go that direction, and I really, really like that. You actually saying that brought me back to when I was in finance still, and I remember having a project. I was at Sprint. I remember having a project, and I remember it was an all-nighter. I pulled an all-nighter, and I remember the next day, I'm with some of the managers who were more senior than me, and I was like, yeah, I did this all night, and I kind of wore it as a badge of honor, and they stopped. They were like, David, like, we would rather you have shut it down a little bit early and come back today refreshed, ready to go. You've got a long career ahead of you. We know that you add a lot of value to the organization. And we need that energy and what you bring on a daily basis. Don't let something make you feel like you have to do all these all-nighters and think that's a badge of honor, because it's not. And, I was coming out of school and I'm like, oh, I want, and man, I've never forgot that interaction. I can tell you exactly where I was standing and where they were standing in that conversation in my mind's eye right now. It was so impactful for me. I've never forgot that. That's really good.
We did an all-nighter one time at McAfee, and I wore it, like you said, a badge of honor. I was like, I stayed here all night. And you felt so productive. And I just remember, she was probably the controller. It was just like, why?
Yeah.
We need to know that this isn't possible. What?
Yeah.
She would rather have me miss the deadline and know what the actual workload should be than me make a deadline. I was like, my brain just could not comprehend that.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, like, you hadn't at the time and I hadn't learned to use my voice.
Yeah.
We're young in our career, we're impressionable, we're trying to make this big impact and have people go, wow, look at you. And in a weird way, we were taught a lesson and it had the opposite effect. You know, it wasn't that badge of honor, but we needed to go through that to realize that. And then to go back to kind of what the theme in a lot of this was, more is caught than taught. So you and I can still go back to some of our first jobs and recite that. And so when times get tough in our career today, or we see an employee today behaving that way, man, we just immediately draw on those lessons and pay it forward.
And it's always a balancing act. I always caveat this with, there's always a sense of urgency, though. I don't want you to be complacent. I don't want my employees to go, oh, well, I need to miss this deadline, because you need to know.
Yes.
So there is a balancing act. There's always going to be a pressing deadline, it feels like. So it is that balancing act, knowing when it's important to make it and knowing when you need to signal to someone that help is needed.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, you become better at reading the room and gauging the level of importance, and if there's a question in there, you ask.
Yeah.
Right? You don't just willy-nilly at all times go, well, I've got to clock out, I got to go on every single thing, but you know, reading the room, your emotional intelligence comes into play.
EQ is more important than IQ a lot of times.
Amen. And as you grow in your career, the IQ, while it stays here, that EQ just takes off the more senior you become.
We did a really good personality, team building exercise at one of my stops, and it was more about your personality at work versus your true personality, and it put it on this wheel, and it was interesting to see, like, the people who were further along in their career, the differences were wider than the people who were young in their career. Who they were was who they were at work too. They hadn't developed a work persona versus a at-home persona.
Okay.
It was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And it was almost 100% younger in the career, 100% matched. Further in their career, you had differences. And it's almost like, what hats do you wear? Like, I'm at work, I'm the CAO. At home, you're someone else. At drinks with girlfriends, you're a different human, right?
Yeah.
We have different personas, but early in your career, you don't. You're the one, I'm employee, whatever.
You're still developing it. Yeah. Okay, so my last question for you as we wrap this up. So at the top of this, as I read, it says the top 5 things that have helped me grow in my career. If you were to look back, knowing what you know now and where you're at in your career, what is just a simple, practical thing that someone could implement tomorrow, whether it's tactically, whether it's mentally, what would you advise them?
Make the tough decisions that you may be waiting for somebody, you're looking for somebody else to make the decision for you. Go ahead and make the decision. And if it's right, great, wonderful for you. But if it's not, learn how to course correct. I think the best example I have for that was, we were implementing a new software tool, and we thought we knew exactly how we wanted to do it, and we were going to save all this money on implementation partner because we just needed them to do the technical behind the scenes stuff, but we knew exactly how we wanted it set up. We got into it, and there was one little question that somebody brought up, and I was like, well, let's call in a consultant and see what they say. They streamlined our entire process, and we had lost like 2-3 weeks of time because we thought we knew how to do it. But we had made a decision, we did it, and somebody came in, told us, have you looked at it this way? No. And then we streamlined something. So we all learned from that one. We're like, even though you think you know how to do it and you think you're going to save money, it's always good to maybe bounce an idea off of somebody who does it for a living.
Yeah.
And in the long run, it'll simplify some things. So, but we made that decision, and then we course corrected.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever realized that asking for help absolutely is the best thing you can do. Don't try to do it all yourself.
Yeah. I think that's, make a decision, whether you're right or you're wrong, you'll find out. You'll learn
Yep.
either way. And I think that's so good. It reminds me of my dad. My dad was in the Air Force, and he would always say, left or right, decide. Use the information you have.
Yes.
Go left or go right, but make a decision, and we are going to follow you. And if it's wrong, we will learn quickly,
Yep.
and we'll figure out what is right next.
It's exactly right. But people will be frustrated by inaction more than they will be the wrong answer.
That's such good advice.
Yeah.
Andrea, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
It's been great finally getting you on the show. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, we try to find the best leaders that we can learn from. I know I feel like it's a selfish endeavor because I get to learn more than anybody else because I'm involved in the conversation. I hope you feel that way as well. And until next time.
If you're looking for the next step in your career or the missing piece for your team, Unity Search has you covered. Whether it's finance and accounting, tax services, information technology, or human resources, Unity Search is here for you with experienced and dedicated hiring professionals. Reach out today and take the next step. Unity Search, placing you first.